Cashbuild is the largest regional retailer of building materials, selling directly to cash-paying customers through its 191 stores in Southern Africa. Cashbuild has been listed on the JSE since it was unbundled from Pepkor in 1986 and has a market cap of 3.3 billion rand and a price-to-earnings ratio of 12. It's shown steady growth in earnings in recent years. The Cashbuild story has been an exciting one in recent years, and it looks as though people are opting more and more for home improvements rather than going out and buying an entire new home. Would you say that that is a fair comment?
Yeah, that's absolutely a fair comment. I think at this stage, new home builds is quite a slow area of the market. Guys are more focused on the home improvement sector. It's also a question of who these companies are exposed to. So, for example, Cashbuild is exposed to the government grant area, the government employee area. We know that wages there have tracked far above inflation over the last few years. So these guys are quite likely to go out and buy stock, add a new room. For example, there's a stat that 60% of RDP houses are expanded in the first 18 months. So if you have that sort of growth underpin, I think that's more what guys are going for in this market, some sort of surety in the growth.
Well, if you have that underpin, the business model can't fail, can it?
No, it's a fabulous part of the global economy. Ever since we lived in caves, humankind have been inclined to improve their circumstances. You know, your home is your hearth and all of that stuff. So nest building, home formation is one of humankind's most, inherent skills. And businesses like these have existed forever. There are obviously, as Daniel says, periods in history where everybody's getting excited and they can afford the credit. So they, build new housing stock. There's a process of household formation. So in countries like ours with high population growth and a big inward bound, kind of population coming from northern countries, urbanization is another key driver. As long as people live in rural areas in ancient homes, there isn't such a big issue.
So the model just gets better and better, does it, for Cashbuild?
And it's a global thing. So even in rich countries like America, huge businesses like Home Depot have built, massive businesses out of focusing specifically on the DIY, home builder, bucky builder, sort of, small builder type of person. And it all kind of makes sense. In other words, you have a big retail type flagship and you have a kind of contractor's desk out the back and you do home deliveries and you supply credit and so on and so forth. So these are all fabulous businesses. The question really is who's doing it right, who's got the best market positioning, who's got the best store network.
Do you believe that Cashbuild is doing it right?
Fabulous business. I mean, a fantastic history, founded in 1978. I don't know if you even remember this far back, but Albert Koopman, who was the MD of Cashbuild in the early days, right after the Soweto riots, said we've got to have a new business, and he argued that there was a strong similarity between Zulu culture and Japanese culture. And he came with this thing about, employee empowerment and so on, long before it was, a kind of a default sort of way of practicing, as is now the case.
Daniel, from a valuation perspective, we're at 128 Rand on Cashbuild. Does it make sense to buy the stock now?
Look, I think it's still attractively priced. It's on a low double-digit forward yield. Earnings growth is supported by fundamentals. I wouldn't say there's big surprises there. They're going to increase the number of store rollouts. It's been about 2 to 3 in the most recent history. It's going back up to 9, around 10. They've got good inflation coming through from the tools side, for example. It's sitting on, according to the most recent balance sheet, it's sitting on $1 billion of cash. That's
it's not a bad pile of cash to have.
For a 3 billion market cap. That's at period end though. So a more average through the period cash amount is probably about 500, 600 million. That's a significant amount. They've reduced the dividend cover. So they are going to be paying out quite a bit of that cash. They're going to be looking to purchase store properties where they've been renting. I think there's still some.
We have to go to hot or not. So hot or not with Cashbuild. Hot or not, Paul Theron on Cashbuild.
There are just one or two things that worry me. Pat Goldrick left. He was really responsible for jazzing up the business in the last decade, but he still has a 10% stake. The new CEO, Vanna Diago, looks okay, solid sort of operator. I think their credit arrangement with Nedbank is a bit useless. They ought to be much more aggressive with that. And I've wondered about whether someone like African Bank wouldn't be a better partner for them in that. But all things being equal, as a retailer with that distribution network and those stores in those medium-sized towns, I think a strong buy, hot stock.
Hot or not? Is
hot
it
stock
hot
at 130.